How fast you going? Orange blossom special.
You know that?
If it messes up, it'll be our fault.
This is Southern Songs and Stories, showcasing the music of the South and the artists who make it. I'm your host, Joe Kendrick, and in this episode, we conclude our history of Green Acres Music Hall with a focus on later years in its 4-decade run and new interviews with artists like Jerry Douglas, Sam Bush, and Mike Lynch, along with performances ranging from the very first bluegrass show played at the Acres on December 30th, 1978, which is playing now, to shows from Bela Fleck and the Flecktones in 1991, Larry Keel with Snake Oil Medicine Show in 97, and Sam Bush's band Duck Butter, also in 1997. We've covered a lot of ground so far, from the origin to conversations with many key players and participants, and a lot of great music. Along the way, we have run up against biker gangs descending upon clubs and outdoor festivals and taking them for their own, to finding a place on the map that no one had bothered to put on that map, to no sync, to snow collapsing a roof, to exploding concert ticket prices, and losses at the door. There's a whole slew of stories packed into this little spot out in the western North Carolina hill country.
Hi, I'm Bob Crawford from the Avett Brothers, and the podcast you're listening to is part of the Osiris Network, a global community connecting passionate music fans with podcasts about music, artists, and culture. For more information about all the shows in our network, please visit osirispod.com.
Osiris.
Southern Songs and Stories is sponsored by Dynamite Roasting, with the world's best 100% certified organic and fair trade coffee. Roasted with love in Black Mountain, North Carolina. DynamiteRoasting.com. And we're sponsored by you when you join us as a patron and help keep this series going. More information is on our website at southernsongsandstories.com and on our crowdfunding page, patreon.com/Southern Songs and Stories. You can subscribe to Southern Songs and Stories podcast on our website, as well as on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, CastBox, and TuneIn. Please take a moment to rate the show and comment on this podcast. It's one of the easiest and best ways to spread the word about Southern Songs and Stories and about the artists that we spotlight.
Probably 50 Saturdays out of a year, every Saturday night. A lot of Saturdays when I wanted to be at New Orleans or Telluride or wherever, I was stuck at the Green Acres Music Hall because I did a show Saturday night for 20 years.
You know, behind every successful man is a really surprised woman. And I always remember that. But behind Steve Metcalf was Donna. You know, she passed quite a few years ago, but she was charming and tolerant. She was very involved in it. I always remember his children being there and running errands and doing things and being part of it. It was very much a family operation.
You know, it's kind of funny. It was pretty well accepted, except the bluegrass people hated us because we electrified bluegrass. They hated that. They would not come.
And all of a sudden, right in front of the stage, some guy just fell out of the rafters right in front of us. We went, man, they're literally hanging by the rafters in here.
Fitz asked Niall, he said, out of all these bands that have came through and played at this place, who would be your favorite band? He said, Niall thought about it for a second, and he said, I guess it'd probably be my band. Niall and the Country Drifters, I got to put a plug in for them for sure.
He had a heart of gold, but probably didn't want to be on the wrong side of him. But I remember just him giving you a big hug was painful. He worked for years as in the pulpwood industry, and that's back when they were carrying 5-foot lengths of logs on their shoulders. A lot was done by hand, and yeah, he was a Paul Bunyan. There's no doubt about it.
You just heard from Mike Lynch, and before him, Brian McMurray of Acoustic Syndicate, Sam Bush, Sandy Carlton, Carol Rifkin, and Steve Metcalf. This is the music of Larry Keel with Steph's Tune from a New Year's Eve show at Green Acres when they played with Snake Oil Medicine Show just before 1997 crossed over to 1998. We started the music in this episode with some of the very first bluegrass played at the Acres by Brushy Creek. That was almost a New Year's Eve show too, December 30th, 1978, and the closing tune that night, their take on the bluegrass standard Orange Blossom Special, or as our guest Sandy Carlton called it, the Freebird of fiddle music. We talked with Brushy Creek guitarist Mike Lynch at length about his many nights at Green Acres as a performer and a spectator, and you'll hear from him in this, our conclusion to the story. We also welcome Jerry Douglas and Sam Bush to the conversation, and we'll hear from folks who went there to more who played there, like Bela Fleck, Acoustic Syndicate, John Cowan, plus Little King Steve Metcalf, who, if you haven't caught on yet, does have a habit of introducing groups on stage as his favorite band after all these years.
Steph's Tune.
Hey, welcome to the Acres. Hey, still after all these years, my favorite band